Hey guys, so we're here at this abandoned adobe church up in the Peruvian Andean mountains to talk little bit about our multidimensional nature, the nature of us as a soul, an oversoul, a galactic consciousness, galactic mind, and the idea of us as multidimensional beings. So I'm going to guide us into a guided meditation to take us into this dimensional space directly and experientially in a few moments. But first of all, I perhaps talk a little bit about the Christ consciousness, being as we are here at this abandoned adobe church in this graveyard. So this might give us a little bit of an understanding of the multidimensional nature of reality. So a lot of people have a kind of misunderstanding of who Christ is, what Christ is, and what Christ consciousness is, and who Jesus was. And I feel a little bit out of my depth here, speaking on what Christ consciousness is, quite sat in front of this church, but I'll give my best description of how I experienced the Christ consciousness. So if we just take a few moments just to take a few deep breaths and relax into the space of oneness from the last meditation. And give thanks to Christ, to Jesus Christ, for all that he brought to our earth and the wisdom that he shared. Powerful as it is, even in its modern day diluted form. So I remember about 2 years ago, just before I had my contact experience with the Yael, beginning to connect into like this higher consciousness, and I had this big awakening experience where I felt like myself flooded with love and compassion for all creation, like overwhelming love and compassion. And I remember thinking at the time that I felt like Christ, and I had this thought go through my head that I was the reincarnation of Christ. I had a Christ complex emerging. And so from this perspective, I fully understand how people can get this Christ complex. They have this big awakening experience, they connect with the Christ consciousness, and they start thinking they're the reincarnation of Jesus, not understanding what the Christ consciousness is. So Jesus evolved into his infinite multidimensional self, and from this space he evolved into the oneness, the source consciousness that we all are. And so the idea of the Buddha nature, the Christ consciousness, the Krishna spirit, it's all pointing us back to source consciousness, to a true nature as God. As Christ said, as Jesus said, I and my Father are one. He was pointing us back to the idea that we are all one. We are the idea of oneness, of unity consciousness, of the one and the all and the one. We are all this one consciousness. And so from this perspective, we have the idea of the Christ consciousness. So Christ evolved into his infinite self. Yet in physical reality, he had an expression, he still had his physical form, and he had something that he represented, he had a teaching, and he had a consciousness that he was expressing. So the idea is that Jesus became Christ as he became enlightened, as he became self-realized, as he became to reunify with his oneness and his true nature, as we've gone into in the last meditation. And so as Jesus evolved into Christ, he became God. He became, I and my Father are one. He became the one infinite consciousness. And so this is what the Christ consciousness represents. It's kind of this idea, as I've discussed before, that everything is a symbol of our infinite consciousness. Everything is holographic in nature. Everything contains God. So you and God are one. We are all of us and God are one. And So, and everything is like fractal and spiral, and everything spiraling out, fractal and holographically, of manifestations of our true infinite nature as oneness and as God. And so this is all a reminding of ourselves throughout this journey, throughout this dream. Everything we experience, everything we reflect into our reality, is a reflection and a mirror of our deep exploration of going deeper and deeper into our understanding that we are God, we are unity conscious, we are oneness. And so the deeper we go into our explorations of our own consciousness as unity consciousness, as oneness, the more we begin to reflect symbols back into our reality. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but over here, just through the trees, we still have some powerful symbols. So my consciousness is growing, and I'm beginning to reflect back into me more and more powerful and more clear symbols of my own nature as pure consciousness. Because this is the journey. This is the journey of creation. We're all on a journey back to source, and we're all reminding ourselves and giving us reminders all the way that this is an exploration of source consciousness. So the more we grow in consciousness and the more we resonate on higher frequencies, the more we create symbols in our reality of our higher consciousness. So I'm resonating on a very high frequency today. I'm having a good day. Yo, peace out, guys. And so birthday, 44th birthday coming up in 2 days. Energy's mounting up, feeling good. And so I'm manifesting powerful symbols of my infinite nature. We have Christ, the symbol of Christ, the symbol of the church. We have the symbol of the Aztec temples. We have symbols of higher consciousness all around us. So we see how the higher we grow in consciousness, the more we attract into our reality symbols and reflections, and of course ETs, which are symbols of our own expansion into fourth density and our own expansion and our own exploration of deeper aspects of our own nature. This is what the ETs are. This is what being near a church is and exploring Christ is. This is what being drawn to temples is. We're exploring in our reality symbols of our infinite nature as source consciousness, as God, so we can gain deeper and deeper understanding of who we truly are as God, and progress on our path back towards the unification with source consciousness. And that is what's happening. We were birthed out of the void into source consciousness, and birthed this reality, and we're now on a journey back into source consciousness, back into the void, and we will from here birth again as an infinite new universe. And so the idea is that, as we've discussed, everything is multidimensional in nature. Everything is fractal and holographic, and the idea is that it's just our consciousness just expressing our infinity here and here and here and here and here. So now if we just take a quick moment, and we've only got a couple of minutes left on this video, so this is going to be a quick meditation. So relax, begin to tune in to the vibration of the Aztec ruins. On smooth pan. Zoom. Begin to tune into the frequency of the Christ consciousness. Begin to tune into the frequency of our extraterrestrial galactic cousins that frequent this dimension, this vortex point here in the Andes. And begin to sense into how it's all you. It's all us. We're all connected. We're all one. We are the one infinite creator in form. We are our absolute unmanifest self expressing in this reality. And it's an energetic feeling. It's not a mental knowledge. You do not need to really understand what I'm saying. You're perhaps sensing into this. You're getting glimpses, ideas, like insights in your own way, in the way that your higher self is presenting symbols to you, visions, images, ideas, sounds. Perhaps you'll start to manifest books over the next few days, be drawn to certain videos, certain teachings. This is your higher self reflecting back to you your infinite nature, in the way that you are exploring your current reality, in the way that is most accessible due to your current explorations. And so we see that in people still rooted in third density in their mind, it's very hard for their higher self to give them symbols that can explain their infinite nature, because if they're exploring very, very disconnected ideas, their higher self can only work with them to a certain degree to show them glimpses and ideas and little synchronicities like 1111 on their clock to begin to unravel and unlock their higher mind. But the more we open up to like these explorations of an extraterrestrial consciousness and dive deep into our higher mind and our infinite self, the more our higher self is able to give us symbols and reflections and synchronicities connected to our exploration of this higher consciousness, and we'll begin to just stumble across YouTube videos connected to this theme, because the idea is it's all existing within our consciousness. It's all existing within our own exploration. We are truly unique consciousnesses exploring our own infinite nature from multiple perspectives simultaneously, but we're on our own journey. Like the external realm is not external. It all exists within your consciousness. And when you're interacting with other people, other beings, you're actually navigating different versions of them within their infinite soul. It's not the same them every time you meet them. It's a different aspect of their infinite soul. And so from here we can see how it's literally a dream within our own consciousness, and we're navigating it. And what we focus upon determines what we attract into our reality. So as we begin to focus upon journeys like this of interdimensional expansion and interacting with interdimensional civilizations, we're steering our consciousness through this dream, through this collective co-creation, where we still interact with these consciousnesses that are exploring more limited realities, because we've agreed as souls to create a collective co-creation and a collective reality. So while we may still see ourselves interacting with these beings that are exploring more limited realities, know that they are reflections of us, and they are reflections of our own expansion, and we are beginning to interact with different aspects of their soul the more we expand in consciousness that are more evolved in their own aspect. So do not get caught too much in them. Understand it really is an exploration of our own consciousness, and we are limited by the collective agreements. We are exploring this as a collective consciousness, but the more we spread the word of this, and the more this word seeps out into the collective mind, the more we accelerate and the more we transform, and the more we realize that we are all multidimensional and holographic in nature, and this is where the new earth begins. So it's really just remembering that everything is a reflection and a mirror, and we're stepping down through the dimensions of consciousness. So when we're in sixth density, we're very much connected to our infinite self. When we're in fifth density, we're very slightly less connected. And as we step down through galactic consciousness and our soul and our higher self and our energy body and our physical mind, we're all experiencing our infinite self on different